Hello, everybody. Welcome to our November chat. We are almost at the end. So we're going, I want to say up front that we will be doing a chat in December on the third Sunday in December. And so wanted to get that, let you know about that. And so today's going to be a whole lot of fun. It may be a little bit odd to some of you, but sometimes the odd things are those things we needed to begin with. So before we get started, just a few words of explanation for those of you who might not know that the members, what do we call ourselves? Studio Insiders, those who are member of the YouTube channel, not the Substack, but the YouTube channel. Our members are the ones who make comments. We wish we could allow everybody to make comments, but once we get a number of people in here, those comments will start going so fast that Roger won't be able to catch them. And so that's why we have limited it to our Studio Insiders to make comments. So if you want to become a Studio Insider, there's a lot of perks involved in that, a number of things that you might find helpful. And that is every first Sunday of every month, you get a coupon for a free hour-long video lesson from the Lessons website. Those have become very popular, and I've noticed that when we send out those new coupons, everybody jumps on it. All of a sudden, my email just blows up, and I like seeing that. So you get that for being a Studio Insider, the YouTube channel member. And then you also get on the second Sunday a little bit of a hint or a little, what do you call those things?
I'm sorry?
For the things you send out on Sunday. You call those snippets.
Second Sunday snippet.
Second Sunday snippet. Yes, I said that. So you get a second Sunday snippet when every second Sunday, on the third Sunday, or the fourth Sunday is when we have the chat. And then you get to be the ones who ask the questions, the Studio Insiders. So click on that join button you see there underneath your video image, and it's just $4.99 a month. If you don't like it, you can cancel. We don't like for you to cancel, but if you cancel, we certainly understand. So folks are beginning to come in and say hello. As you come in, if you will, let us know you're here and where you're from so we can sort of see that. So let's see, Mary Ellen is here from Vermont, Cheryl from Montana, Ellen from Pennsylvania, Maggie from Texas. Maggie says, thanks for the chat. Our pleasure, Maggie. Courtney from somewhere. Let's see. Oh, San Diego, Carol from San Diego, another Carol from Colorado. Colorado is on my bucket list. So glad to see folks beginning to gather in now. So this is going to be a chat that we should repeat at least once a year, or at least this topic at least once a year. And you might notice that sometimes I revisit subjects because they are so important to us as painters, as artists, not just painters, but having that artist mind. So today we're going to be looking at keys for seeing like an artist sees. Seeing like an artist sees, and I'm thinking that all of us will probably want to see like an artist sees, and it's entirely possible. You don't have to be a Michelangelo or Leonardo in order to see like an artist sees. Everybody has that capability of seeing like an artist sees. It's just a matter of, well, you'll find out as we move along. So, do we have any other housekeeping details, or are we ready to go ahead and get the video started?
I think we're ready.
Oh, wait, hold on. That's Courtney from New Hampshire.
Oh.
Uh-huh. We got a good representation of, so as folks keep coming in. I think we'll just do that. We'll go ahead and begin the way it goes, as all of you regulars know, is that I always make a little video for you to introduce you, to get your minds focused. a little video on giving you the concepts or explaining to you the concepts of whatever the topic for the chat is. And so this one's going to be seeing like an keys to seeing like an artist sees. All right, so Roger, if you're ready with the video, see you folks on the other side with your questions. In the drawing book called Zen Seeing Zen Drawing by Frederick Falk, he quotes a Chinese master, Wei He, saying, "Your treasure house is within. It contains all you ever will need." And for the artist, that means that your eye does not have to be trained. Not at all. It means your eye needs to be free to see. In Kimon Nicolaides' classic drawing book, The Natural Way to Draw, he says there's only one right way to learn to draw, the perfectly natural way that has nothing to do with artifice or technique. These masters reveal that the key to seeing like an artist sees has nothing to do with rules and everything to do with freeing our eyes to really see, not just look at, but really see, and freeing our hand to follow what our eyes are seeing. I want to show you now a method I've devised using the teachings of both Nicolaides and Franck, a method that has freed hundreds of my students over the years. What I'm doing now is phantom drawing. No, I'm not drawing on top of the photograph. I'm exploring the movement of the photograph, hovering my pencil next to the image and moving with the movement of the edges of the images. This is an ideal way to get familiar with any image, to explore what it is doing. We relax, we allow our eyes to follow the edges, and we allow the pencil point to follow our eyes. We don't stop. We keep moving from one edge to the other until we have explored the entire image, all the little edges and movements that we see within one single image. It's an exercise that can inform our hands, inform our eyes, and inform our entire being about what we're dealing with, where those edges are moving and how they are aligned with each other, all those different little parts that create the image of what we are drawing. This will give more life to your work than anything else you can do. And once you finish the phantom drawing, move over to your paper, drop your pencil down, and allow your eyes to move with the image in the same way as your pencil hovered over it in the phantom exercise. And it doesn't matter how many times you go back and forth over an edge or how many times you explore one edge or another. What matters is that you are involved with the image, that you're allowing your eyes and your pencil to work together. Your eyes inform your hand pushes your pencil. Your mind does not get into it. Your mind does not try to tell you what's there, but your eyes and your pencil explore what's there. It's with an exercise that you can do that will give you more than any study can give to you, and you will be absolutely surprised if you allow yourselves to do these gesture studies before you ever begin to pick up a brush or before you ever even consider the colors. If you simply get to know the image, exploring it, and don't limit yourself to just a single line or just a single part of an image. Explore the whole image and explore as many times as you need to in one sitting, just getting familiar with what's there. And what this is going to do for us when we get to the drawing where we're actually placing it on our canvas for creating the painting, this will do is it gets us acquainted, it gets us relaxed and interested in what's actually going on rather than trying to get it right. The point is not to try to get it right. The point is to explore it. Explore those edges and how they are aligned with each other and their relationship with each other. If we explore them through gesture drawing, just by allowing the pencil to move without stopping from one part of an image to another, you will absolutely be amazed at the difference this can make in your work, in your growth as an artist, and in the things that you actually can discover about the image itself. This is not a drawing that you're going to show. This is a drawing, this is a workout. This is part of your exercise, part of your preparation. This is part of you informing yourself about the image that you're getting ready to paint or to draw. One thing we know for sure, this type of exploration was absolutely routine for Michelangelo, for Leonardo, for Rembrandt, for all the great master artists in our history. It's not that they were naturally gifted or talented. It was that they were driven by the curiosity of what makes images appear as they do. They were visual explorers. And we too can become visual explorers. It's not that difficult. It's just a matter of being willing to trust yourself that if your eye is seeing it, your hand can draw it. I'm going to put a portion of my phantom drawing and my gesture exploration in slow motion, and while doing so, give you some pointers about how you might go about doing both. First, notice how, as I'm doing the phantom drawing, it's my arm that's moving, not my fingers and hand. There's your first clue about how to explore that movement. Next, notice how I'm moving in just small sections, just on the edges of shapes, and how I go forward and backward and forward and backward several times before moving along to the next shape. That's true exploration. Notice how I don't follow a total outline of the shape. This is not outlining. This is exploring the visual movement of the shape. The visual movement is caused by the edges, and the edges are moving the way they are because of the gestural movement of the entire image. So if we take those in small sections, we will truly capture the movement and the grace of the entire image. And also notice that I don't just go through the entire image and stop. I go through the entire image, and then I might move back to where I began and explore that again. This is not a drawing, as I said before, that you're going to show. This is your informing yourself about just what your hand needs to do in order to capture those movements of edges that your eye is seeing. Now, something that you can't see me doing, you can't see me thinking. You can't see what my thoughts are while I'm doing this. Most often, it's our thoughts that get in the way of our hand being able to follow what our eyes are seeing. Control those thoughts. Keep them on following what your eye is seeing, nothing else. And above all, do not allow your thoughts to judge. Hold on to one question. What are my eyes seeing that edge doing? Nothing else. After you've done a thorough exploration of your image, then go over to your paper with your pencil and begin your gesture drawing. Hold your pencil lightly and let it glide, moving exactly like you moved in the phantom drawing. Try not to hesitate, but let your pencil flow. I think it would be a good idea when you first begin exploring with phantom and gesture drawing to allow your pencil move about the speed you see me moving in this slowed down version of my gesture drawing. It's best not to go too fast, but it really is important not to go too slow, because if you move too slowly, then you might lose the rhythm and the flow of the movement on those edges you're exploring. During the actual gesture drawing is the place where you might get tricked up by your thoughts if you're not careful, because as our pencil is making marks, too often we're judging what's happening and we're afraid we're not going to get it right. That is a trap you can fall into that can cause you to fail and get frustrated. There is where you can control what happens. Don't let those thoughts do that to you. Allow those thoughts simply to ask questions. What is that edge doing? And when you move your pencil back and forth over the edge, just like you did in the phantom drawing, you will discover what that edge is doing. And also, don't try to outline one area and then try to fit another area into it. Just take it section by section and scan back and forth with your pencil as you move along, discovering actually what's there, discovering actually what your eyes are seeing. Your pencil is recording what your eyes are seeing. One thing that's really important is that you keep in mind nobody needs to see what you've done. People can be very cruel without meaning to be cruel when they look at work where we are studying something and judge whether or not it, quote, looks like the thing that we're drawing. We're not trying to make this look like the image that we're drawing. We're simply exploring to find out for ourselves what's there that makes it appear the way it does. So let's just don't show these. Keep these as your little secret exploration journey. Nobody has to see this but you. What I know from all my years of teaching is that when students allow themselves to go through this process, relax into the process, and just trust their ability, their hands' ability to find and discover and record what their eyes are seeing, the whole world of art changes. The whole world of drawing and of painting changes, and you become confident and you find joy in what you're doing. All I've done here, all I've shown you, is that if you learn these two skills, you will have the initial keys to how an artist sees. And when we become comfortable and confident with just these two skills, we'll be able to use fewer lines to explore our images and to create lovely drawings and paintings with inherent life. Let's stop here now and let you ask your questions. All right, am I back? Am I live again?
Yeah.
There I am. Okay, you notice a little change in scenery behind me. It's unfortunate that both and let me say this differently. It's unfortunate that Michelangelo burned a number of his gesture drawings, and not just a number, a whole bunch. He would burn his drawings because he didn't want anybody else to see what he had done or copy what he had done. So, but we have Rembrandt. We have a wonderful collection of Rembrandt's drawings available. In fact, I think there are 2 volumes that are simply called Rembrandt's drawings, and probably get those on the one of the used books internet stores. Abe Books is one, ABE Books, and there are others too. So you might check that out. But I love this Rembrandt gesture drawing because here he is. You can see his lines are very loose and quick and responsive. Not a thought went into that at all. Pure exploration. But you notice here he's exploring with a single line. And that was the original way, actually, to explore with gesture. It's just with a quick single line. All right, Cheryl says, before I learned your method, I took a drawing workshop. The instructor taught to make only one confident line, but I wasn't confident, so my line was very timid. This method's more helpful. Yeah, I'm familiar with that method, but I think I like, as I said, as Nicolaides says, I like the natural way. I think that the natural way is for us to let go, not try to predict what's going to happen. Just let our eye follow edges and our hand follow the eye. And it just requires not controlling, not trying to control it. If you're trying to make a confident line, not that I'm trying to poo-poo your teacher, Cheryl, but if you're trying to make a confident line, then you're thinking. You're thinking about making a confident line, and although maybe the teacher's intention was maybe something a little bit more interactive than that, I think the best thing is to not think, to let go of the thinking, and simply allow your eye to guide you instead of your thoughts guiding the eye. Our thoughts get in the way of our being able to draw lively and gesturally. And so the best way to get that going is just get in there and do it and not allow yourself to think. You can do that. And it's really the Frederick Frank in the book Zen Seeing Zen Drawing, which is one of my favorite of all books, all drawing books. This one and the Nicolaides, but this one especially because he sees gesture, or he just calls it Zen drawing. It's the same kind of responsive drawing as a kind of meditation where your thoughts are not guiding you. Your eye is guiding, and it's the hand-eye. Eye guides, hand follows. Eye guides, hand follows. And it's just it would be the most natural way that it is the most natural thing for us humans to do. The problem is that our Western culture has bred it out of us. We started getting, when we entered either kindergarten or the first grade, we began to get analytical teaching us to be more analytical than responsive. And I'm glad to see that some of the schools, especially, it's been going on for quite some time now, are teaching with a balance of those, of being responsible as well as being analytical. But we can always go back and reclaim what's natural for us to do. All right, so Terry asked here, what difference might there be between drawing from an image or plein air? None whatsoever. When you're in plein air, you have images. And when you're in plein air, you can respond the same way. In plein air, all the images around you, wherever they are, whether you choose to zoom in on an image close up or whether you are catching a whole vista, there are images, and you respond to those images. And that's one thing that Frederick Frank does an awful lot in this book, Zen Seeing and then Zen Drawing. He's out in plein air an awful lot. Let's see if I can kind of zoom in on something here where he's in plein air. He's in plein air a lot of times just out in the landscape, and sometimes he's in plein air. Here's one. I think you can see it right there, where he's It's got a little different approach to it, but it's not really that different. He's simply responding. It's a matter of simply forgetting the analytical part of it. Don't try to be analytical at all. Don't try to think about it. Just respond. You see an edge, you see an image, the image is made of edges. You let your eye move up and down those edges, and you let your hand follow what your eye is doing. Don't try to think about it. Ellen asked, I've never heard this anywhere other than from you, and happy to hear about it again, as it's taken me a while to make it a part of my thinking and action. I'll put the Zen book on my list. By all means do. Now, can I edit you just a little bit there, Ellen? Take away that word thinking. No thinking. No thinking. All you think about is how not to think. No thinking. You just respond. I think that's the hardest, most difficult thing for us to do, because as adults we think we have to think. But it doesn't matter what age we are when we are drawing responsively, just allowing our pencils or pens to follow what we're seeing, and let our hand follow what our eyes are seeing. Thinking doesn't enter into it at all. Ellen says, "Oh, I know I do think too much. Quit thinking. Just quit thinking." I know, and there are many things in painting, and in all fields. There are many things where, yes, we do think, but we think where we need to think, and we don't think where we don't need to think. And if you think about it, think about it. Same thing is true for all the performing arts. Now, as artists, we are a performing arts. We are performing in a way when we're doing a painting or a drawing. We are in the act of creating an experience for ourselves, and that gets recorded. In some sense, that is performance. But musicians will tell you this, and you will know it too if you listen to a musician. If the musician is concentrated on reading the notes off the page, can't even think of what it's called. A musician is concentrating on getting the notes right and playing it perfectly. It will be so stiff, the sound and the spirit of the music will be so stiff. But when the musician gets into the act of creating music, and we've often heard it called the zone, in that space within us where everything happens without our effort, happens because we are allowing it to happen. Music that does that is alive, and it pulls us into it, and it's almost a spiritual experience. Yo-Yo Ma, when he plays his cello, every single time you can just see him, he instantly just zooms in or kind of tunes into his cello, and he lets it take over. And he's just the instrument that's playing the cello. And so that's the way it works for especially with gesture drawing. But gesture drawing is the ideal way to get our hand-eye coordination so that we're actually seeing, not just trying to get it right. Okay, let's see, I kind of got behind there. Cheryl, what tool did Rembrandt use in drawing behind you? That was a quill, and I think he had several kinds of quills, but you can use a bamboo quill and a quill that's made from a bird's feather, a large bird's feather. Anyway, where it's trimmed to a point. It's trimmed to a point on one side, and then on each side of that, or it's trimmed flat on one side, and each side of that is trimmed to a point, and there's a tiny little slit down in the middle, and you dip that into the ink and draw. We have those dip pens even today. I think some of those pen points are still available, where we can slide them into the end of a handle and dip them into the ink. But you can actually, and bamboo is another material that was used back in before commercial pen points became available. Bamboo was also used, especially in the eastern countries where bamboo was more prevalent, where a strip of bamboo would be trimmed the same way, in essence, where it's sharpened on one side, or flattened on one side, and then the edges of that trimmed to a point, and a very slight slit made from the point up through that the rest for a little bit of a distance that allowed the ink to flow. That little slit allowed the ink to flow. So so it was using a quill probably there. I'm not quite sure exact instrument, but either a quill made from a feather, or he might have made his pen from bamboo or some other material. I'm not quite sure. But that, remember, in Rembrandt's time, he didn't have the fancy instruments that we have today to draw with. Sometimes the homemade jobs are better anyway. They have more character to them than all these mechanical pens do. Let's see. When you were enjoying dancing, what?
When you are
enjoying dancing, you are responding to the music without thinking. Terry, yes, there's a good example. You don't think, do you? You don't think about where I'm going to put my foot this time, and where I'm going to put my foot, how I'm going to shake my booty. You don't think about those things. You just respond. You respond to drawing in the same way. That I will tell you just a little bit about how the gesture drawing evolved. First, we see the initial earlier gesture drawings. We actually see more of that in the Renaissance time, beginning in Renaissance time. We do see some gestural work coming out of the Greek, but it's really hard to find because so many of those works didn't survive. But the gesture drawing was initially created. Artists initially started drawing very, very fast to capture the movement of people fast, because you had to move fast to catch the movement, and so they would truncate the lines in moving very, very fast and catching little edges of movement. And that was originally thought of, I don't know that the word gesture was applied to it, but it was that sort of fast moving to capture movement. And then artists began to realize that fast movement can catch interior portions of movements, not only of the figure or animals or something that's moving itself, but from still images as well. I suspect, I've tried to do some research on this and I haven't come up with anything to contradict it, that Nicolaides was the first one to use the word gesture. He had a full program of gesture drawing in his school, and he worked on it. He kept evolving it, kept evolving it. And his teaching at that time, that was in the 1930s, 1920s and 30s, maybe the teens before then, because he died in 1938, I believe. His book wasn't published until about 2 years after he died, and it was based on his manuscripts that he had created for the intention of publishing a book. And I think his wife, Anna, is the one that first published his first book on the natural way to draw. But anyway, I think he was the one that recognized this as gesture, movement. And he also distinguished between gesture drawing and contour drawing. Now, contour drawing is a slower method of just responding to edges with a single motion or a single line. And you could call Rembrandt's drawing maybe a gestural contour, where he's really just responding with a single line, following the contour with a single line. But then Nicolaides began to realize that we can move back and forth on those lines. In other words, we don't have to just make one line to fully explore the gestural movement of an edge, but that we can move back and forth like I was showing you then, and then as gesture drawing evolved, as people began to do more and more and more of that sort of drawing, and it began to be understood that it's any kind of drawing of movement. And today, a lot of people will limit their gesture drawing teaching to just the figure. Well, that's ridiculous. It's not just for the figure. It's for all images, all kinds of drawing. Okay, Mary Ellen's question's been there for a while, but I was on a roll. So Mary Ellen asked, would the exercise be helpful in abstract work? For example, following the lines in Joan Mitchell's painting, the edges might be not clear, but I wonder if it'd be helpful for the feeling. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And not just following the you can do gesture drawing in nature and get abstract ideas, or you just doing gesture drawing of anything where you're capturing the movement. And your work, Mary Ellen, is very much about gesture and movement and rhythm, and so you can actually get abstract ideas or begin an abstract painting, such as Jackson Pollock was all about rhythm, all about movement, where it was pure gesture, and the paint and the paint and the colors and drips and the textures and all those kinds of things happen to be a part of what translated that, or what expressed that, I should say. So yes, indeed, it's very much related to especially the abstract expressionism in painting. So yeah, go for it. Also, I want to make the distinction here about a word I hate, and a word I love, and a word I feel neither way about. The word outline, I absolutely detest when it comes to painting or an artist's work. Outline is nothing. It's stiff. It indicates stiff. It indicates averaging out. It has so many implications that, and I know that there are people who teach put your outline on your canvas. Then, no, that's not what painting is about. Painting is about expression. So an outline, gesture drawing, real drawing, true drawing, alive drawing has nothing to do with outline. True drawing is finding what is combined, what edges are doing, what are those edges doing within an image in order to make it appear the way it does to us, and may enable it to have the movement that an image can have for us. Okay, Cheryl's, she's OMG, Mira. We're on the same thought patterns. I was going to ask, just curious, does gesture drawing help with non-repositional painting? That is opening the mind, absolutely. So the outline word, out. It has nothing to do with making art. Absolutely nothing to do with making paintings, I should say. Contour, well, remember that contour drawing is just another method where you're following with a single line, you're following the edges, inside and out edges with a single line. Now, Nicolaides does teach contour and gesture, and he teaches blind contour and blind gesture. I had blind contour and blind gesture when I was in school, and when I was in drawing classes, and they would put images on in those days we had, remember, the screens and the projections, projector in the back of the room, and the screen in the front, and this light going from the projector to the screen. Remember those days, anybody? Anyway, so they turn out the lights, and they would flash these images on the screen, and we were to do blind gesture drawing or blind contour. We would, whichever one we were working with, we would do blind gesture drawing. We would do it where you really have to let your eye follow let your hand follow. First of all, let your eye follow what you see, and let your hand follow what your eye. Let your hand follow what your eye. In other words, allow your hand to be guided by your eye. And we went through drill after drill after drill. Then they turned the lights back on. And sometimes you wouldn't want to look at the image while you're drawing, because you feel so confident after you get that kind of exercise going over and over again. You feel so confident about, you find your place on your paper, you get a sense of that space on the paper, and your eye is following the image, and your hand is following your eye, and it may be a little bit out of proportion, but you see, that doesn't matter, because it's the experience of the hand following the eye. The experience of the hand following the eye that's important, not what the thing looks like in the end. So like I said in the video, you don't show these things. You don't make these things to be correct. That's not even consideration. It will fall into place the more you do it. So you don't, if you think about that, if that's your intention, to make something, try to make it look like the thing, you're on the wrong track. That's thought again. All right, let's see. Cheryl says, I'm going to look for a new pen. It's always fun to have a new art tool. Yeah, I tell you, I really enjoy doing gesture drawing with pens. This might be a good place to have a little bit of fun. Let's see, what's that? Oh, that's Bobsy says, isn't it also important to have in mind the whole image, the vertical, horizontal deviation for the movie? When you're gesture drawing, don't have anything in mind. You will be aware of vertical and horizontal, and you'll be aware of those things. But if you try to think about those while you're gesture drawing, it's going to divert your attention away from what the eye is seeing and into your thought, and then that will be your thought guiding. Now remember, the reason for gesture drawing is for the experience. It's not an end to itself. It's not an end unto itself. If you want to convert a gesture, well, this might be a good time, Roger, since Bobsy asked that question. The Michelangelo drawing that one, yeah. Let's see. I guess let's see. I don't know if y'all can see. Look, here's a good example, Bobsy, of what I mean. Michelangelo, okay, I'm going to use the right, which hand am I going to use? This hand, okay. All right, now look right here. Right here you see the gesture drawing. Here's where he began his gesture exploration. Right in here, you see all that? See all that? All those lines, the gesture exploration, all the way, you can see it up in here. See that? And then he comes over here, and he's beginning now a more precise method of drawing. In other words, he learned, he found, he discovered here what was happening with these edges, where they were going. And here he's beginning to put them together into the image itself. I think this is a really good illustration of his process, of what I said about Michelangelo and what I said about Leonardo and about Rembrandt, that this approach to drawing was routine for them. But you can see all done in here. And if I get over here, here it is again. Here it is again, where he's doing a gesture exploration. And again, he begins to hone into the image as he pulls into it over here. And you see over here more of that gesture. If you can see this thing up close, look at these gestural lines. Look at this gestural exploration. There's your repetition right here. You see it repeated. And you see they're not all in line with each other. Some a little. See this? See how some of the lines, you can see he's following that edge, but he's not trying to make the edge overlap the other edges. He's just allowing his hand to follow what his eye is seeing. And you can see, oh, you're getting close. Good. Wonderful. Look, now you can see it even better. You can see, get this part right in here back where I was talking. See there how you see this exploration, see the lines just kind of exploring. They're not, you see, he's not trying to guide his hand to go anywhere. He's just allowing his pencil to explore. And you can see it as it works on up into here. Over here, oh, where am I? Okay, over here. This is where I was talking about, where he obviously started that gestural exploration and then moved right over into here. And so I think there, if Mikey can do it, we can do it too, can't we? Also, I want to go back to, just for a moment, no questions, okay. One of my fun things to do that helps an awful lot, and of course, those of you that know me, worked with me for a while, know I'm a baseball fan, specifically a Braves fan. And one thing I enjoy doing when watching a game on TV is I enjoy doing gesture drawing while I'm watching the game. Now, and so I've got just a page here I want to show you. And went back to Cheryl's comment about the pen. I love doing these, of course I've done them in pencil and pen, but I love doing them in pen because in pen you have that flow, you have that point that's going to continue to flow without, without smearing the way a pencil does. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to get close to the camera and show you something. What you can see is because you know that during a baseball game, they're moving. They're not moving real fast, but they're moving during a baseball game. And so very rarely are you going to find somebody in one position for a long time. So you got to really allow your eye, allow your hand to follow what your eye is seeing without thinking at all. You got to just keep moving. So you can see some. I will often move from one character to another, and then if one moves out of the way, I'll not worry about. You don't worry about finishing or anything like that. You're just exploring. It's the experience that's important here. It's what I want you to really, really hone into, or really get, is that it's the experience of training your hand to follow your eye without thinking. And the more you can do that, the more alive your paintings are going to be, and the more alive your drawings are going to be, and the more joy there is in it. Oh gosh, you really just get caught up in it, and there's no frustration there at all. Oh yeah, there's the other. That's my very favorite Michelangelo drawing. Let me answer. Keep it there, Roger. Cheryl says, I find it hard to slow my eyes down while phantom drawing, as if my eyes jump ahead. Well, that's part of it. That probably once you get your eye and your eye and your hand, and don't try to take too much at one time, Cheryl. Allow your eye to pace. Allow your eye to pace with a shape, and if once you get your eye and your hand coordinated, that will slow down. Your eye won't be tempted to jump ahead. And another thing is, I think you'll find that if you get your thoughts, once you get your thoughts out of it, and your intention is simply allowing your eye to follow an edge, you're going to see that will get more coordinated. That your hand and your eye will be a team, a pair. They'll be in total concert with each other. So it's not just your eye seeing it and then your hand drawing it. It's your hand drawing it while your eye is seeing it. So that may be part of it. Maybe you're trying to see it and then draw it. See it and then draw it. Well, try to make it draw while you're seeing it. Try to move your hand while you're seeing it. And I think the phantom, that's my own invention, by the way. The phantom part, it's a result of Nicolaides' teaching. But I also discovered that if we have something to pace us before we make a mark, we're less tempted to make a judgment. And that was the main reason I came up with the phantom. But when you're doing the phantom, if you just let your eye, look, see how my eye is following my eye is following my finger. Just let your eye follow. Don't look ahead and then draw it, but let your eye follow. As your hand is moving, let your eye follow what your hand is doing. If you can get into that mindset rather than look at it and then draw it. And I have a feeling you might be looking at it and then drawing. And tell me if I'm correct about that, Cheryl. Are you looking at it and then drawing it, or are you is your hand following your eye? See, there's a difference there. But once we get our hand following our eye, we're right into where we ought to be there, and we just keep allowing that to happen over and over again. I left out something here that I wanted to say, and I can't remember what it is. Maybe it'll come to me. Oh, I know what it is about the purpose of gesture drawing. It's not just an end within itself. It's a way of keeping our hand and our eye coordinated as the experience. It's a way of training our hand to follow our eye as our eye is seeing, not after our eye sees. And that's the one thing that I think that a flaw in teaching drawing a lot of times is that we look up and see and look down and draw. Look up and see and look down and draw. Well, a lot of information can get lost, not just information of the experience of what we see can get lost between that span of time, that very, very narrow span of time between looking up and looking down. If we can make a habit of making the hand feel what the eye is seeing as we go, and the more we do these kinds of practices, it just becomes a natural thing for you. You will be doing it naturally without having to be aware of what you're training yourself to do. I think if you could just trust yourself on this, there's the main thing. Just let go and trust yourself for your hand to follow what your eye is seeing, and not look up and look down. Look up and look down. It's amazing the difference it'll make in you feel self-confident. That's a main issue a lot of people have with drawing. They don't know what the heck to do, where to get started. And then they squeeze it. Oh, there's the other thing. Don't try to avoid squeezing your pencil or your pen or whatever you're working with. Sometimes it's better just to hold it like this and let the pencil flow. It doesn't matter which way you hold it so it's comfortable, but allow the pencil to just, let your fingers purpose to be just to hold the pencil so it doesn't fall out of your hand. But if the arm does the movement, it will coordinate much better with the eye. If you try to get the fingers doing the movement, you lose something between that connection between the pen or the hand and the eye. But when you have your whole arm moving, no matter how small the movement, in that little drawing I was doing of the dog, I was doing it on a little sketchbook, about 6 by 6 inch sketchbook. Still, no matter how small, allow the arm to be what causes that movement, not the fingers and not the wrist, not like that. And the reason for that is, if you think about it, your whole body is involved when you're allowing your arm to do it, and therefore it's connecting more closely with your eye as you're making these lines move forward. Wherever you're going with the lines that your eye is guiding your hand to make. Bobsy says, I think I'll go over each area until I really feel what it is that I'm drawing. Yes, you're talking about in the phantom drawing. Yeah, if you start out with simple images when you're first learning, or you're first making this work for you, and it's not just learning how, it's getting it to work for you. I prefer to think about it as getting it to work for you rather than learning how to do it. There's a difference there. You get that? Yes, if you start out with something simple, even a coffee mug or something very simple, and just do the phantom drawing, and instead of trying to do the whole, don't go, instead of try to avoid going all the way around and a shape before going back. If you take sections, small sections at a time, and say if I have this coffee mug here, so if I'm doing small, what I would do here, here I'm doing this phantom drawing for you now. I would take one side of the circle, not try to do the whole circle first, because then you lose the context. Your hand might get ahead of your eye. So you want your eye and your hand to work together there. So if I'm doing a, there we go. If I'm doing a phantom drawing, I'm doing this, and then I can go around and do this, where my hand is, my hand's following my eye. And then I can come to the side, and I can come down like this. Let me see if I can get this up so I can come down like this. Now I don't even have to take that whole side. I can come down to where it bends, take that long side like that, and then I can come around like that. So you can take sections, but if you're trying to do the whole thing with one stroke before you go back, it's that when you're doing this method of moving back and forth, what you're doing is you're catching the forward and the backward visual movement of the edge. So if the edge has the visual movement of, say, the outside rim of my coffee mug, then I am going forward. I'm allowing my eye to go forward and my pen to follow, my hand to follow, and I can go forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. I don't have to have any until I feel like, okay, you don't even have to think. You would just automatically feel it. Forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. And then you can go to the other side, forward, back, forward. And if you don't look for it to look like the coffee mug, that'd be a mistake to do that. You get defeated, self-defeated when you try to make judgments, but you just have the experience. Then what you're going to see is that the result is it's going to resemble very much a coffee mug. Did you notice that my little gesture drawing, it didn't look very far off from that dog, did it? So that wasn't even the point, though. That is just the payoff. That's just the result of when your hand follows what your eye sees, it's going to capture the image. Can't help but capture the image when your hand's following what your eyes see. Let's see, Jean says, that looking up and looking down is what I keep doing. Yeah, stop that. that is that's sort of been what we've been taught to do, sort of, maybe. Looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down. We lose contact when we do that. It's one reason why, pardon me, one reason why the sight size method was taught, or is still being taught today in the academies and in the early ateliers and the early classical drawing, where the images, where a model will be sitting over here and the easel will be right here, and they'll be parallel with each other, so that the artist is looking at the model, where I forgot which was my easel, which is my model. But anyway, the artist is not looking back and forth between the two, but the artist is looking at the model, and you are aware out of the periphery vision, you're aware of where you are in where you are in your space on your paper is what I'm trying to say there. So, all right, folks, we have pretty much chatted this thing up. It's just about time's up. So if another question doesn't pop up, I hope you folks are going to have fun with this. I hope you're going to allow yourself to have fun with it. I hope you're going to allow yourself to let go, move those eyes and that hand together, rather than, I repeat stuff too much. But if you give yourself the experience, and not just once, but make it a routine. These are the kinds of things you can do. You can do when you're sitting and watching television, or if you're sitting out on your porch or your deck, and there are always images around us where we can do this. And so I think the thing about our becoming artists many times is that we're becoming in our heads only, if you know what I mean. So I think if you will apply this, you're going to be absolutely thrilled with the difference it's going to make in your life. So yeah, if you can go on, I don't know if Zen Seeing Zen Drawing is still in print. I think they might have done another edition of it, but you might check Abe Books first of all. If not, check out one of the bookstore sites. And the natural way to draw. Now, Kima Nicolaides has a, this will tell you where it all got started, where it all comes from, but the core of the natural way is right here. And I think there have been newer copies of the natural way to draw, newer editions that I think they've sort of kept up with that. Somebody's probably messed with it, but okay, folks, thank you for joining us. I'll have fun gesture drawing, seeing like an artist sees, and then we'll look forward to seeing you again in December. And meantime, happy drawing.